Welcome to episode 18 of the Orange and Blue Crew with myself, D, my man Jai, my man Reek. Um, Last time we spoke, we're about 15 games in. We're now 20 games in. 5 games have passed since the last, or no, I think it was game 16 was happening that night. So 4 games have passed since then.
Okay.
One of them being a NBA Cup game, which was against the Hornets, which was ugly. Really, really ugly game, but the Knicks were able to win. But a couple of annoying losses also in that period of time, which we'll get to. But I wanted to get right to the first topic of this episode, which is Mikal Bridges, because I think we were literally just last episode praising him for kind of getting to some consistency. You think he wasn't necessarily having high output, but he was efficient. Like he was making, 50% of his shots or so. But then he followed that up with after the Suns game where he shot 50%, he had 16 points and played really well. I think probably one of the better games that he played this season up until last night. This is being recorded on Monday. So of course the Pelicans game was on Sunday, December 1st. Um, so up until last night, I think that was his best game against the Suns, where he was just kind of really complete, played good defense, shot well. He followed that up with a 3 for 15 against Utah, and then a 6 for 16 against Denver, and then not the worst per se, but 8 for 19 against Dallas, and then against Charlotte, which was a super ugly win, 3 for 10, and he just been really, really inefficient. So I'll start with you, Reek, because I feel like you've been very, I think, not critical, but I think like you're very mindful of what Bridges has going on. I feel like you've been very vocal about it. So just what are your thoughts on this inconsistency? And I mean, what do you think the Knicks need to do to keep him on a consistent path? Because there was a stretch, prior to that of about that 4 game winning streak or winning 4 out of 5 where
Right.
Bridges was really efficient. And then it's like as soon as we hyped him up, he
Yeah.
regressed back to how we started the year. What do you think should change to keep him, more on the good side of efficiency?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think what's happening is, yeah, you're right. I have been like, I mentioned last time that I'm trying to be more measured in my criticisms because there's somebody on our podcast that also lives with me that will fight tooth and nail every time I'm critical of Bridges. I won't say any names, but the the thing is, we're at game 20. And to me, there are a couple, obviously there are a few benchmarks throughout the season or milestones throughout the season that this regime has used to collect data. And I think that first 20 games is always something that they do to use to collect data and move guys around, figure out, where we're going to be. So that's been helpful to me in that I haven't been, you know, as chicken little as I can be with when guys aren't playing well. I was expecting him to be a much better defender. Statistics shows that he is a pretty good defender on ball. Um, I was expecting that he would be a more knockdown shooter. I think I'm not alone on that. I wasn't expecting, and maybe because I didn't know him very well, that he would be as lethal from 2 point range on that fadeaway. So I think what's happened is we've seen the coaching staff sort of work with him through this slump, and we've also seen them try to put him in different positions to be successful. And I think he has been successful um, to a degree on the wings, um, getting those open shots on the wings. But when not hitting them, he's got to dribble in and get to the mid range, which I think in the more recent games he has figured out. You just can't make somebody get out of a slump. It just has to happen, and it's clear that he has just been in a shooting slump. Um, I think though with the data and trying to collect information about where he's most effective, I think it's sort of knocked OG out of a rhythm. Um, because OG figured, all right, well, if what it seems to me is that when the games are going and OG's able to cut and be that guy that gets into open space or, fills in, after a pick and roll or does something defensively, and then it seems like he knows how to just be open. I believe that they've swapped those positions as Bridges tries to figure out who he's going to be in the offense. And I think that has damaged to not damaged. I want to say that it's just knocked OG a little bit off his rhythm from not being that guy that can cut and score, because that's what Bridges has been, that's how Bridges sort of got off the other day. He got open on some, but he also hit some of those corner threes that he normally does hit, that we're expecting him, and that he was hitting. He just wasn't hitting above the break. Um, but I don't care. I think that it's good that he's rolling now. I feel like, but now we've got another issue that, to get him going, you have to sacrifice OG and what he was comfortable at. And once we get them both on the same page, I think we're going to be really, really tough. So I think it's still coming together. I don't know that this was the breakout game. Tomorrow's game is going to be, very, very, very meaningful game, I think, for where they are as a unit and, where their defense is. I think so. I don't want to go too much into everybody else, but I think Bridges, small ascension into hitting a couple of damn threes is good. But I don't know if we're out of the woods yet, especially with him being successful, kind of having OG have to, because then OG now can't hit the broadside of a barn. So I don't know what the impact's going to be there, but it's good that we're at 20 games and we kind of understand what we're going to get out of Bridges. He just needs to improve that defense. That's what I got.
Jai, what say you?
Well, we talk about defense, just leaving off on that. I would normally have a lot more stats, but the NBA this year has been really terrible with sharing those and tracking them. Sometimes players are just straight up missing from the box score for certain metrics. So I don't know what that's about. And I obviously no one from the NBA is watching, but if this ever reaches somebody from the NBA, get it together. But from what I can see in our Hornets win, Mikal Bridges had a really terrible offensive game, but he held opponents to 2 for 11 from shooting and forced 3 turnovers. And last game he was a lot more active in lanes, in passing lanes, and even off ball, staying connected. I mean, we didn't really play anybody because the Pelicans were sort of shorthanded, but I saw great improvements in just his ability to stay connected and his willingness to stay connected. So yeah, I'm just like, I've only given up on one Nick this entire time since like the last 5 years, and that was Julius Randle at the beginning of last season. I completely just said screw it, this is not going to work out, and then he proved me wrong like probably the next day or the day after that. It was like the final moment.
What about Evan Fournier?
Hmm?
What about Evan Fournier?
I never really was a believer in Fournier or like Obi Toppin, some of these guys that just fell off.
I liked Fournier.
Thing.
I gave up on RJ Barrett as soon as we drafted him.
But yeah, so someone that I was high on that I gave up on was definitely Julius Randle. And I just don't know if I wasn't ready to do that again with Bridges. And then, when it got really bad, he had this game yesterday, and I think it's going to take a while. Like, my dad said, we're not out of the woods, I don't think. We had a private conversation about, when is Bridges going to get going? And I said it's not going to be for a while. So this game came a lot earlier than I expected, with him hitting a lot of shots. He tied his career high for threes yesterday. So I didn't expect that turnaround to happen so fast. And maybe it does happen. But I think the main issue is, it's hard to be that fourth option on this Knicks team right now, no matter who has to do it, whether it's OG or Mikal. It's just a really hard thing. It's like that feeling. I mean, everybody here play basketball. It's like when you're not really involved in the offense and you finally get the ball and it's your time to shoot, you sort of get that feeling like, oh, now is my time, and you might,
like I gotta do something. Yeah.
I gotta do something. And that's like when the ball's not coming to you as much as a fourth option, that's, that's what that feeling is. So, they just got to work through that. And it's yesterday was only, yeah, it was only game 20. We're 12-8. I think it's the same as last season. I don't know, maybe we were a little bit worse. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much how I feel about Bridges right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I pretty much, I feel like we have maybe I wouldn't call it an um embarrassment of riches, but I feel like for the first time in a long time, we do have a situation where we know who options 1 and 2 are. It's going to be Brunson and Cat. The problem is 3 and 4 are very. I think Bridges and OG fall into that category, and OG I'd say more than Mikal of who do you want like OG I feel like is very okay with taking 6 shots in a whole game because his defensive intensity is never gonna switch up. He's always gonna be in the right place, even if he's only taken 5, 6, 7 shots. Bridges, I think, is maybe more needed to feel included in the offense than maybe we anticipated. Not to say
Mhm.
that he's like selfish or anything, but I think maybe there is a part of him, and especially coming from a situation in Brooklyn where he was the guy where he went from, his first 3, 4, 5 years in Phoenix just being, a run up and down, play defense and shoot corner threes guy to when he got that opportunity to be the man in Brooklyn, getting that taste of that kind of became ingrained into what his game is and who he is now. So he's
Mhm.
having, I think what we're seeing in real time is a bit of an identity crisis. And I think what I would say maybe is the quote unquote solution, or what I would try to do if I'm Tibbs, is just make it obvious. I think for as much as I think OG has like this very high ceiling offensively, much higher than I think maybe we've yet to even see. I think OG, because he's so content to just chill offensively, unless he's really unless he starts off a game 4 for 4 and you're like, okay, just keep giving him the ball. I think it would benefit Tibbs to make it clear. Look, it's the hierarchy is Brunson Cat and then Mikal. We need you to be that third guy taking shots. We need you to be that third guy looking for your shot because Josh Hart is. I mean, like he's even said it. I'm gonna shoot when I want to shoot, and if I don't want to shoot, I'm not gonna shoot. And like I said, OG is very content to take very little shots. So you want if Bridges wants to, I think that consistency because just looking at the stretch where he played his best, every game he was taking 14 to 18 shots. You know, in some of these inefficient games, he's taking that 14 to 18 shots, but then you'll have a game against Charlotte where he's only taking 10 shots and he's making 3. And
Who's
you
that,
never
Brittany or OG?
Bridges.
Yeah.
So like you never want a guy to be chucking if he doesn't have it, but there's the whole confidence thing. Like you don't want Mikal to lose confidence because he saw how that worked out in game 1 against Boston. He lost his confidence in the first half. He couldn't do anything. And then he was passing up shots. In the second half, once the game was kind of out of hand and he was just like, all right, well, let me just let it fly. Then he started making shots again. But I think that's what's going to be the difference. His 3-point percentage, he's shooting what, like
Horrible.
30% on the season, which is not what we signed up for. But I think the
33%.
33, yeah. So 33% from 3 on the
It was
season.
29 going into the game last game.
Right. So I think the best way to, because when you look at his 3-point percentage over the years, he was 33 his rookie year, 36 his second year, then 43 his third year, 36 after that, 38 after that, and then 37 the last 2 years with Brooklyn. So now he comes down to 33. So he's realistically not far off from, I guess you could say, what he is as a shooter. But I
Yeah.
think in terms of what gets him going, it needs to be the mid-range shots. It needs to be, hey, run more sets for him because I think a lot of his offense, at least when he struggles, is when it's okay, Brunson and Cat couldn't do it. What do you got, Mikal? As opposed to a couple of times come down, run a play for Mikal, run a down screen where he can come up and curl off of it around the free throw line, which we've all seen that he likes to do, and get to that, 12 to 17 footer that he likes so much, as
Yeah.
opposed to having to try to find offense where I think that's where he struggles. He doesn't have the handle to do that. He's not strong enough, really to be that kind of a player. So I think just having his points come within a more organized flow of trying to get him a shot just works out better for him.
Yeah.
I say all that to say last night, I mentioned that I thought that maybe the game against Phoenix was maybe his best game of the season, but then he followed it up, or not followed it up, but then he comes out last night, and my buddy Chris was saying, should we take Mikal Bridges 25 plus points tonight? He's been struggling, and I feel like they'll try to get him going. And surely enough, they were trying to get him going early and he was looking for a shot. And that's what I think you got to do. I'm not saying he needs to be our leading scorer every night, but I think just making it more clear, more obvious that, hey, man, like, look, we want you to play defense, but you're here to be a scorer too. I think that just goes a long way for his confidence. He scored 31 points on 12 of 19 from the field, 7 of 12 from three. So, is he going to make 7 threes every night? No, but I think just feeding him and making him feel a part of the offense and not just an extra goes a long way, right? So
I think I agree, but I think that it's a slippery slope. I think it's very dangerous right now because one thing that really stood out to me in terms of OG Anunoby was when we signed him, there was an article and there was, there's the feeling that uh he demanded more money because we picked up Bridges. And he was going to give us a discount, but we picked up Bridges, and that made him fearful. And the main reason there was, and he needed more security because of his desire to be more of an offensive focal point. And I think we all knew that, and we're seeing that play out right now. I think that if you say to OG Anunoby right now, you're just going to be the fourth guy and you're going to get scraps. Because if you're looking at their shooting stats right now, which I'm, looking at over here, Mikal Bridges is shooting 14.6 field goals a game, and OG is shooting 13.4. So OG wants the bucket. He wants to score. He wants to shoot. He wants the attempts. And if you come out and say that Mikal's the guy and we're going to do this, that's really not going to be helpful, I don't think, because we think OG's okay with that, but he wants to take another step in his career. So that's what I offensively.
yeah. I mean, in a perfect world, we just end up playing like the Celtics, where everybody just shoots whenever the hell they want. I think maybe that would be, I think, the ultimate goal is, look, everybody's gonna shoot like there's no bad shots. You're right. Um, I just think that while you're trying to not weather the storm, but I think maybe just find some consistency,
Yeah.
it's just better to have a little bit of structure. And then once you hit that stride, that's when you can, because I think even with Boston, it wasn't always everybody just shooting,
No.
because at first there was the hierarchy. It was, JT's gonna get his, then Jalen, then the next guy. But now that they've been playing together for so long and they have a more clear idea that, okay, everybody on this team can shoot. So if you're open, just shoot it. And even if you're not open, you can probably still shoot it. I think that's what the Knicks should progress to, which leads me to our next topic, which is just the inconsistency of the team. And I think you could argue that the inconsistency is kind of tied to Bridges and OG. I don't think you're going to look at Deuce McBride as the reason for any inconsistencies, or Jericho Sims,
Or
or
campaign.
campaign. Like, you're going to look at, when you're looking, maybe trying to diagnose why, even though we won, you scored 99 points and won by 1 point against the Hornets team without LaMelo, Mikal Bridges, Trey Mann, um, and I forget who else. I think they're missing a fourth starter as well. So a horrible Hornets team, missing four of their starters, only with Brandon Miller, as the lone starter with that squad, and we mostly played terribly, you know, only scoring 99 points, winning by one. But then you turn around and you actually handle business against the Pelicans and smoke them by 30. So it's like, you know,
Who is
what
who is who is this team?
right, you know, and you know, you have even a couple of weeks ago, go on the road to Phoenix, play the Suns and play a nearly, like we said on the show, a nearly flawless offensive game, 138 points. You win by 16. Probably could have been more even because I think you know we did let up at points. And they were hitting a lot of threes to kind of keep themselves kind of in it. But you do that, you win by 16 at Phoenix, and you follow it up with a loss to the Jazz, right? So I I don't expect the Knicks to be perfect. I don't think any of us do. But Jai, you were um particularly saying that, you know, even through the first 10, you expected us to be 3-7. So we finally hit at least 7 losses, right? So
Mhm.
at what point, this it makes me curious, you know, with the inconsistencies of this team, at what point did you expect maybe a turnaround? Because at 3-7, I'm thinking that you were thinking at some point the ship is going to turn around, right?
Mhm.
So my question to you is, are we at a point where you were expecting this turn to come? If not, where do you think the maybe eureka moment happens for the Knicks, and how do we
Mhm.
get there? Because I think the inconsistency is starting to get a bit frustrating. Where you know, you like I said, you'll beat up on the Suns, but then you lose to the Jazz, beat on the Nuggets, lose to the Mavericks without Luca.
Mhm. Yeah. I said it back then, and I'm sure we could play the clip back that I thought the turnaround was coming in January, February. I thought that all of 2024 was going to be a bust for the Knicks. Especially with the in-season tournament and all that stuff, just with the national coverage and everything. So yeah, I mean, they're obviously playing way over my expectations, I would say, through 20 games. I would have thought if the Knicks were able to even it out, like probably would have been 9 and 11. That's really my like expectations through 20 games is really what I thought was that, you know, that means that after 3-7, you win 6-4, which would be pretty good, but that's pretty I just thought it was going to be like a middling thing all the way through January and then have this great January like we did last year. Um, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But what would you say, like
Hmm.
what do you, in terms of just like how do we get to a January or February like we had last year? Because I think right
Yeah.
now there's still that identity crisis. What
Hmm.
needs to change? Because I feel like that's what's the frustrating part. It's like, okay, we recognize that, okay, we're not playing nearly our best basketball yet, but what does our best basketball look like in your eyes?
I think that this Knicks, like, you know, front office has hedged really hard on Mitch's return. And they've pretty much bet, I mean, everything on Mitch being here and sticking with Mitch through everything. Off the court troubles, on the court troubles, whatever. They've decided that Mitch is the defensive center for the New York Knicks. And that involves, you know, not even thinking about trading Mitch when it came time to shore up money for a Hartenstein offer. You know, I mean, even I think there's a lot of confusion too with the whole cat thing, which sort of like makes people think, what were they really thinking here? I thought we were going to rock out with Jericho Sims as the starting center, but that would have had, you know, terrible implications. But now there's 1-2 punch of Cat and Mitch. I think that that was really the goal all the time, the whole time. So I think that Mitch's return is going to really even out this team. I mean, Tibbs loves Mitch to death, and I'm sure he's the guy that's in the war room fighting for him. So if it's, you know, the only thing that I can really see is Mitch's return being that big, you know, change, that inflection point in the next season.
Mhm.
Because we're not gonna make any trades.
Right, right. Rick, what is, you know, same to you, just what is the Knicks' best basketball look like to you? Because I feel like um you in particular have this, like I think maybe you've voiced your vision, but I'm just looking in terms of, you know, is it dependent on health? You know, like Mitch coming back. I know we all know you're a Mitch guy, but is it dependent on Mitch? Is it dependent on the guys that are on the court every day right now, figuring it out and getting right? Or what is the big adjustment to help add maybe some more consistency to this team?
Yeah, it's defense. I think it's defense. It's what got us here. It it is the fabric of this team. And right now we're very short. We're small. We're getting beat on the defensive boards. We're not as aggressive as we can be or successful as we need to be on the offensive glass. When we go against defensive or athletic centers at this point, it's very clear, it's evident. Like if we go, we went against, obviously Utah's got the number one guy. That kid last night, Vidivici, whatever the hell his name was, from New Orleans. That kid was athletic. He was bouncy. He was playing some good defense out there. He didn't, he couldn't do anything with Cat on the boards, but because he's small.
He is Missy.
Huh?
Yeah.
He's Missy.
Yeah, Ichi Michi, whatever.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear Clyde say his name because I can't. But I think that's really what the big problem is. And in my mind, what I'm thinking of is, I think, like I talked about earlier, the 20 games that we've seen, this is really about data. And I'm like Jai, I was thinking that you could probably go back to one of the beginning of episodes for us of this season where I was saying that, hey, this is this whole season might be a wash, as in terms of getting to the championship level. I don't know that that's the goal, but you're incorporating a lot of guys into this, and you're reestablishing what the identity is right now. Because now, even when Mitch comes back, where does he play? Who goes to the bench? Is he starting? Is he coming off the bench? Mitch didn't do anything to lose his position except, Cat is playing out of his mind as a center right now. I don't know that anybody expected any of this stuff to happen, but now do you put Cat at the 4, which wasn't successful over there, or was it successful in the Timberwolves? Right? I don't know. Like they went to the then they go to the finals, right?
Conference finals.
Conference finals.
Conference final.
They went to the conference finals with him playing the 4 and Rudy Gobert playing the center. Is that what the front office wants? A 1-2 punch of them up front, a Twin Towers look? It wasn't successful for Cat as far as his overall numbers, but the team did well. So I don't know what our defensive identity is going to be or is. And so I think the only thing that changes the ship here is Mitch, like Jai. I agree with Jai, and Precious is going to be those backup bigs that we need back into this lineup, because our bench is suffering. We don't have any real scoring off the bench. Somebody has to be like that Julius Randle. Somebody's got to be that guy that scores the points in the beginning of the game, gets us going, sits down, and then goes with the second unit, stays on the court and goes with the second unit for extended time. So that we can have a real bench and let those other guys do something. I don't know. I think that defense is it. I don't like the way we're playing defense, and I think that's the major reason why we have such inconsistency, because we're not playing defense. And you got Cat, who's playing above his pay grade right now. Well, nothing's above his pay grade. He's paying above his capability on defense. I think he's doing well. He's getting rebounds, and that's how you end possessions. And he's not, he's not causing defensive fouls. Oddly, he does a tremendous number of offensive fouls. But yeah, I just don't understand what we're going to be doing defensively. We got a negative defender in Cat and Brunson, and you're trying to hide those guys consistently throughout the game. And if we go against a center, a defensive center, a shot blocker, that really exposes Cat in a way that he just doesn't have the moves to get past it, and then he shoots really poorly against them.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think, just at least the way I see things, I just want to see the emergence of a clear 3, because I think that's what's really holding us back, is that what you're going to get from Brunson and Cat, but I don't like the idea of, who's it going to be? Whose turn is it tonight? I like coming into a game knowing, okay, Cat's going to give me 25. Brunson's going to give me 25. And whether it be Bridges or OG is going to give me 20. Like I like knowing that. I don't like the idea of, okay, well, well, tonight we might need Brunson to get 35 and Cat to get 30 because Bridges is only going to have 12 and OG is either going to have 8 or 28. Deuce is, I like Deuce off the bench. You never know if Josh Hart wants to actually shoot or if he wants to have a triple double with rebounds, assists, and blocks. So I just think that third option emerging will greatly change this team. But I also agree with you on the defense part. There was a point, in the past where there's been public um, displays or public quotes, anecdotes about playing the Knicks is not fun because we play defense. I think out of all the Tibbs years, this is probably this season has been the worst the defense has looked. At times it's looked really good. And I think a lot of that is maybe OG covering up for a lot of mistakes that guys make. But as a team, it just feels like this team is lacking the intensity that normally we see from the Knicks on defense. I mean, I feel like we give up a lot of points more often than not. I remember we used to regularly hold teams under 100, under 105. Like now, I mean, it's nice to score, 115, 120 more than we have in maybe recent years. But I liked when we would hold teams would come in, we would play even when we were terrible, we'd face Golden State and
Just
they're scoring 94.
just work.
Last year, we're playing Denver. Denver, they're scoring 130 against everyone else. They score 101. I remember you guys remember the big home win we got on our, in that was it January or February stretch. Like that's what playing the Knicks was like. But I feel like this year's team's just been a little softer. So, I think the emergence of a third option, but particularly turning it up on defense, just not, I mean, it's not even a concept thing or a schematic thing. I think guys just aren't buying in. They're not locked in defensively. They look disinterested in getting stops and more interested, at least Cat and Brunson in just trying to put the ball in the hoop. You can we all know you guys can score, but the easiest way to win is to stop the other team from scoring because that's less scoring you have to do. You know what I mean? So that for me is what I think just makes the world a difference. And I think, like Jai said, I think January and February are going to be the big tells for this team, and I think the January schedule is actually a good balance of, playing some good teams, playing some not so good teams. Like, we play the Thunder that month. We play the Magic again. We play the Thunder. Actually, we play the Thunder both times. Um, 2 times in a span of a week. We play them on January 3rd, and then literally that next Friday on January 10th. Then we play the Bucks. We play the Sixers. We play the Timberwolves. We'll play the Grizzlies, and we'll play the Nuggets that month. So that'll be a good month to test of, like, look, are we turning this corner or are we just going to be, maybe kind of above 500? It'll be a good chance to see what we're made of. But where I want to end things today is like last week or last time we did Jalen Brunson or. So we're gonna do that again, but we're gonna do it with Cat. Cat, I feel like is easier to maybe do this with because I think center is, at least in this day and age, a mostly weak position. But let's just see where we stand. So we're gonna go through the East and the West and just see who we're taking, where we all, or where you all at least think Cat ranks amongst centers. So starting with Cleveland, Cat or Jared Allen?
Cat.
Is it closer than you think, Reek?
No.
Because you open your
Yeah,
eyes. I'm
yeah.
like, who's-
When you said it, I was thinking maybe there should be some sort of thought bubble or no. Jared Allen is very, very, very mid as a player. I don't even know. Cat.
I don't know how he was. I mean, he had a pretty good year. He was a questionable all-star though.
That was an all-star to save the Cavaliers franchise, is exactly what it was.
Yeah, I
Had
wasn't too sure about that one because
I
he
don't
was
even know what he
solid, but
does.
and he dresses too lame. All right, this one will be interesting. Cat or Kristaps Porzingis?
Cat.
Cat. Cat can do more. Cat can do more in on the interior.
But
Um,
defensively,
I've
KP's
always thought.
a much better rim protector.
yes,
Moves a little bit even after the injury. Still moves pretty well.
he still moves pretty well, but he can't go with Cat in the paint, and he doesn't rebound still. That was a problem when he was here. That's he's 7'8",
You know,
averaging 4 rebounds a game.
another thing to Mitch's credit, we talk about that rise of Hartenstein, but a lot of that came we attribute that to the coaching staff, but he's also playing a lot of minutes in practice with Mitchell Robinson. So, when Mitch isn't doing contact practice right now, he can't even run or jump. So Cat has never shared the floor with Mitch in any capacity. So I think just learning from Mitch can be very useful for Cat. So I don't think we can even speak to what Cat's true peak as a perimeter, interior defender is.
Fair enough. Um, we'll skip the Magic. They have Goga Bitadze. I don't think we're
Yeah.
uh there's a debate there. This one I think is also easy, but we'll still put it out there. Cat or Brooke Lopez?
Cat.
Lopez old as hell.
Hey,
Cat.
he can still play though.
But I thought
He's
he was
still
a better
fine.
defender. He's no longer he's no longer the defender he was
Brooke,
when he had a resurgence as a player. I didn't
yes.
know he could do that. But now he can't. I think
Um, Cat or Bam Adebayo?
Hmm. I've never been a fan of Bam, but I'm not gonna discount him with a quick Cat answer.
uh,
But slow Cat, that's what I'll say.
yeah. That's a good characterization of the response because Bam plays defense and Bam can score.
Yeah.
Um I don't know. And he shoots the mid range pretty well, close to the rim.
But when Bam is bad, that Heat team is useless. And
Yeah,
right
he's like,
now, Bam has not been his best.
and I think Bam is better suited as a power forward than he is a center. He seems small to me. He's kind of plays small, so I'm going to say Cat. I'll say I'll give a slow Cat too.
Okay.
Slightly speedier than Giles, but
Okay, let's go. Cat or Miles Turner?
Cat easy. But I start to feel I'm formulating my hot take on what team I think is coming soon. So I'm gonna just say I'm gonna say Cat right now.
Okay.
for years we wanted Miles Turner,
Yeah, we did. On this podcast, we were saying we wanted
and
Miles Turner. I know I
and
was.
and every time he plays against us, he drills at least two or three threes from the top of the key that look like he's supposed to be shooting them.
Yeah.
He gives you, but again, he's got nothing at the rim.
Yeah, he's got nothing inside.
I think if we said if we asked this same question last year, it would have been harder for me to say Cat than it is now because I see Cat and that he can
Yeah,
play close to the rim.
right.
So I'm gonna go say Cat too.
Okay. Cat or Vucevic? I think that's an easy cat.
Cat.
Yeah, yeah, I'll say
Yeah.
Cat, but I was saying earlier, I was talking to my dad, the guy give Vooch his flowers. He is in the top 10 alongside Cat, most efficient players this year with high
Yeah,
volume.
he's not the best defender, but offensively he is very good.
Mhm.
Um, Toronto has like seven different African centers. All right, here we go.
Oh
Speaking
no,
of
but
Africans,
they got your boy. They got your boy.
oh yeah, Pirtle. Yeah, so wait,
Jakob
cat.
Poeltl.
I mean, I think the cat versus Pirtle is a cat, but I am on the record in our group chat
You
saying
are.
that I do think Pirtle would be a nice addition. Like if we wanted to move off Mitch or Jericho, I wouldn't mind getting Jakob Pirtle. I think he has that I think I heart potential because I think they're around the same age. Pirtle's not that old. I think he's still in like his the early half of the second half of his 20s, like I would say like 26 or 27 maybe.
Mhm.
But he he's got a lot to his game. He can rebound, he's physical, he's strong, and he's a good defender. He gets blocks, he protects the rim, and he's not too plotty. He can move a little bit. So I wouldn't mind if the Knicks decided to get a little crazy and
He's
try
30,
to make a
he's
move for him.
29.
Oh, he's 29? Okay, I thought he was like a couple years younger. But still, even at 29, I would take Jakob Poeltl. I really like Poeltl.
He's a backup.
Um, but speaking of African centers, Cat or Embiid?
Okay, hey, Joe.
This is my hot take because I know I'm definitely on the record calling Embiid. I hate Embiid so much on this podcast, but they're not calling fouls for the Knicks. That is the objective truth. We are among the lowest in free throws attempted per game.
Mm-hmm.
Cat is getting in his, good games an ethical 30 points. I know Embiid has the ability to get 30 points, but Cat is getting an ethical 30 points and enjoyable to watch 30 points. That being said, Embiid, when he's on defensively, is the better defender than Karl Anthony Towns when he's on. Which is seldom, but still. So I'm obviously because Embiid has been the MVP in the past 2 years. I'm gonna go with Embiid. But I mean, from now to the future, I'll be willing to say Cat is going to be the better player.
Well, I say Embiid. It pains me to say Joel Embiid, because the thing about Joel Embiid that I hate the most is that he has tremendous potential, but he chooses to play gimmick basketball, like like we saw from James Harden. He knows he's going to get the call. He knows he's going to go do this up and under thing, and he chooses to play that way and not get in shape. Those are the reasons I don't like him. But if we're talking about skill and defense, and as a total player, that guy is really good. And he makes a lot of shots, a lot of jump shots. I don't even like that. But if he were to be in shape, he could also play back to the basket. He could do everything as a basketball player. It just seems like such wasted potential. It's hard to say that about an MVP, but the guy is good, and I feel like he's just wasting it. He's really
Well,
good.
it might be too late. He's only played 4 games this season of 19.
Yeah.
And this injury looks pretty serious. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
I would say Embiid, but I agree that I think his NBA clock is nearing 0. Quicker than I think a lot of NBA fans would have hoped, because he is really
That is
bad.
really sad.
It is the reality.
It's
He's
nearing
an
0.
oft injured big
Yeah.
guy. Typically
Bad
don't
knees.
bad knees, Bell's palsy, all that stuff. Yeah. All right, now we're going to the West. Cat or iHeart?
That's Cat.
Yeah, it's Cat. But I love iHeart. I still do, even after everything.
Yeah.
Cat
I was
or
only gonna average 8 points.
Nah, he's averaging like 13. He's having the crazy games.
Yeah.
He's like 17, 20, and 5, 11, 18, and 4, like 7.
He's
Like,
capable. He's capable because
he's been having some crazy
I do
games.
like he established that push shot in the
That
lane.
push shot. I think he has, in every game he's played in this year, I think he has a double-double at least. All right. Cat or Alperen Şengün?
Cat. I hope history forgets Şengün.
Wow. I think Şengün's all right. uh We're gonna skip down to Cat or AD. Even though AD doesn't call himself a center, he is the big man. So
As AD.
Yeah, I love
AD,
AD.
yeah, AD
As
is
AD.
Yeah, I'm trying to
AD
remember how I
is
thought about Cat before he was a Knick, and I think I would have said AD about a month ago. So
You would have said AD.
you gotta be fair. You gotta be
It
consistent.
is AD.
You
That
gotta be consistent. Cat or Wemby?
mm.
mm. I'm maybe I have to pull out my Nick. I don't know that Wemby. I don't have any problems with him. I don't have any issues with
I
him.
think over his last 6 or so games, he's averaging 30 points and 11 rebounds.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He had a triple
Wemby's
double the
hitting a
other night.
little. Yeah,
Yeah.
Wemby's hitting a little bit of a stride now.
So this
Yeah.
is year 2. You're supposed to. He had like eight games of a sophomore slump.
Yeah.
So I'm going with Wemby. I love Victor Wembanyama. I'm
Yeah.
excited.
I don't have any problems with Victor Wembanyama. The only thing I was hesitant about him was that all of these tall, freakishly tall people always get hurt.
Yeah,
And he hadn't been
he's
hurt.
been keeping. Yeah, I think he
And
had like a
that,
little ankle injury last year, but I don't think it kept him out more than like a couple
yeah.
weeks.
I'm gonna have to say Wemby. I'm saying because you also have to consider if somebody came to you knocking on your door to trade somebody, they'd be like, "Yo, we'll give you Wembanyama for Carl Anthony Towns." I'm like, all right.
Cat,
I'll
cat.
say it slow. I'll say that slow.
Yeah,
I'll be like, all
like
right.
you got that. Cat or Sabonis?
Oh,
Yeah.
Cat.
Cat.
Sabonis ain't even better than Julius Randle. Julius Randle used to kill that bug.
All right, last one, and I think you should know who it is by now. Cat or the Joker?
I mean, Jokic is an
Jokic.
all-time player.
Yeah.
He's
We
a
gotta be
all-time great.
we gotta be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. Sidebar, Houston's 15-6. I did not know that. I did not know they were 15-6.
They got another big win last night too.
Is Ime Udoka coach of the year?
And
They
Knicks
playing
were
a
ready to
lot of-
fall apart. There's always a win like that. Last year we lost to Orlando early. Everybody's like, "Oh my God." We lost to the Rockets this year early. Everybody's falling apart. But sometimes we catch a rising team right at the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
And
Houston is
they're playing a lot of
nice.
defense down there. And Brooks is their main guy. Their main he's just like their motivator.
Mhm.
He's like the grind father down in Memphis back in the day.
Brooks? Oh, Dylan Brooks?
Mm.
Yeah.
Dylan Brooks, yeah.
He
Yeah,
hit shots for him. He
30 last
play
night.
hard defense. He get them motivated.
And this is what Jalen Green has been like, not terrible, but he's definitely compared to how he ended last year, he's been rather
Mid.
like slow, like mid to say the least. Like
Yeah.
even just in his last 5 games, he had 17, then 10, then 9, then 41, and then 9. So he's been kind of mid. But anyway, yeah, that just stood out to me as I was because I was looking at the standings just to see like, okay, what team's center should I say next? But okay, that was I think Cat won all those except like 3 or 4.
3 or 4.
So we
Yeah,
can
so
say
top 5 center.
yeah, Cat is a stamp as an orange and blue crew stamped top 5 center.
For sure.
So that's gonna do it for this episode. Just had to talk about the latest with the Knicks. Big win last night and trying to build on it, find some consistency. Not sure when that's gonna happen, but I'm sure, January, February comes around and we'll have one of those 14-3 stretches like we had a year ago. That's what I'm hoping for. But right now we sit at 12-8, and look, as long as we keep the ship afloat, maybe even make a run at the NBA Cup, I think that'd be pretty fun. Anything's possible. So
yeah, I think we get some relief when we get back Precious too, and then we jump. We drop down some of the some of those extra minutes. I think that Bridges is playing. I think Bridges is the guy that we reduce some of the minutes if we get Precious back. So and then we get a little bit of height. I mean, we just need a little bit of height. We need a couple.
A little bit of size, rebounding, things like that. So, thank you all for watching. For those who do, this is D, Jai, and Reek signing off, and we will see y'all for episode 19.
Also, we forgot to mention Jalen Brunson, one player of the
Oh yeah,